All right, got a book review today. This one is Infinite Jest by David Foster Wallace. This one's crazy. Super long, took me forever to get through it, more than a month. 980 dense pages. Not only are the pages dense, the writing is dense. So these are the pages. So it's 980 dense, impenetrable at times writing with another, what is this? Approximately another 300 pages of notes after. It's almost like a nonfiction work that it has like notes in the end. I didn't read all the notes. I didn't read much of them, in fact. In the beginning, I was keeping up with it, and then I just kind of realized I wasn't going to be able to digest all of this book in one read. And in fact, I don't think anybody can. And even with several reads, this is a book that I think people will end up studying. I read in the intro, people go over this in a Talmudic fashion, just constantly finding new meaning in every sentence with every new read. So it can be quite a pretty deep book and hard to fully comprehend. I absolutely did not fully comprehend a lot of this book, although I did comprehend enough of it to enjoy it. Overall, I did enjoy this read, and I do think I will read it again at some point. I'm going to give myself, I think I need to live life more and learn more and experience more to come back to this book and be able to gain more from it. Not that I didn't gain a lot from it at this point, I was able to understand and follow a lot of it with the life experience I have now. But I think I need to become more well-read and just more well-lived to be able to understand more of it. Overall, I did enjoy the book, and I think I enjoyed it for a couple reasons that might not apply to everybody. Kind of random, but the reason I actually picked up this book, I had it on my bookshelf. I always knew that it was kind of a well-received, or at least people seem to love it or hate it, and there's just a lot of talk about it. It's a very popular book, written in the 90s, I believe. But funny enough, the reason I decided to pick it up now is because I recently started playing tennis, and I know that it features a tennis academy. Also, it takes place largely in the Boston area, so I could relate to a lot of the places they would go to. Like, a lot of this was very particular. He doesn't explain in full detail, the writer does, in some of these things. It's just like you have to know it to get it. And so me living in Boston absolutely helped that, or at least the Boston metro area. It's not just in Boston, it's all over Cambridge, Somerville, Waltham, Winchester, Medford, everywhere. Malden, all these cities are named. It's pretty cool. South Shore, North Shore, Lynn. So yeah, there was that. This book it has so many characters in it, and there's really not a main character. There's two characters who are kind of main characters, Hal and Condensa, who's a tennis player at a tennis academy in Brighton, Massachusetts. And then also there's Don Gately, who is in a drug halfway home, like a recovering drug addict's home. And this is just such a weird book. There's not really there's not at all a beginning, a middle, and the end. In fact, it jumps around all over the place, and I couldn't really follow the chronology of it that well because it's weird. It's in like a futuristic time. Canada has taken over part of New England, and it's supposed to be, I would say, probably in the mid 2000s. But the names of the years are the year of this, and it will be some commercial invention. I guess capitalism is worshipped. People largely, watch. It's kind of like a television projector. Like he didn't really predict the internet so well. That's not me saying that. I read that in the introduction. But what was I here? So yeah, I couldn't follow the chronology that well, and it bounces around to different characters all the time. So for the first third of the novel, my mind is wide open. Like, I have no idea where this novel is supposed to be going. I don't even have that much of an expectation that I'll get through it. So I'm following it here. Other parts are like kind of going over my head. I'm like, what is going on with this? Towards the middle, there were a couple chapters in particular that were just so, they just were putting me to sleep. It was mundane, and it was a chore, really, to read them, to be honest. One of the chapters I remember specifically, I think it was when the boys in this tennis academy were explaining this game called Jest, and I just thought it was over the top. It went on, and it was not holding my attention, to be quite frank. Towards the 600 to 900 page section, I was really following it, and it started to not introduce as many characters. So in the beginning, in the first third of the book, it's just, you don't really know who's going to be in this book. Is it never going to go anywhere? Is it just always going to be introducing new characters? But yeah, around page 600, 700, it starts keep focusing on these characters, and a narrative is starting to develop. You've got these wheelchair Canadians, I think I understand it right, who are trying to get their hands on this tape that goes into these TV projectors that the whole nation seems to be kind of addicted to. This particular tape was created by Hal Incandense's father, who was a filmmaker. And for some reason, when people watch this tape, it's like, what's that Greek mythology, the Lotus Eaters, where they want to do nothing else but continue to watch that tape. They're basically dead. It's like they've OD'd. They won't eat. If you take it away from them, they're in extreme pain. So it's kind of weird and crazy. They want to get their hands on this tape, and I think seemingly because they want to broadcast it all over America as like a terrorist thing. And then you got the government who's trying for that not to happen. So it's Hal Incandense's father who's passed away. So the three main things that it's following are this fight over this tape, people trying to find it, discover it, terrorist organizations and the government, and all this futuristic political society. Then you've got the characters in the tennis academy, who's Hal Incandense, his brother, his older brother. His story is told quite a bit. He's a professional football punter out in Arizona. And then the third group are like the drug addicts, and it kind of focuses on drug addicts actually out in the street, and then recovering addicts. And then it really starts mostly focusing on Don Gately and his story. Although, yeah, this book just bounces around all over the place. It really kind of disappoints in the end. None of it really gets tied together. So if you're looking like for a cohesive novel where in the end things kind of made sense and all the everything gets wrapped together, it just doesn't happen, in my opinion. But I found myself enjoying so many little mini stories within this book. I found myself laughing many times. I was disgusted many times. I was excited many times reading this novel, like what's going to happen next. There's a particular part where they're following this drug addict, and he's given up cocaine, and now, like, well, I won't get into it, but he's replaced his addiction with cocaine with something else, and you just want to see what happens. It's riveting. This is clearly, his writing style, David Foster Wallace, is clearly inspired by A Clockwork Orange, Anthony Burgess. I haven't read other novels by Anthony Burgess, but A Clockwork Orange absolutely influenced this novel. He uses horror show. He uses droogs, which I don't even know if he knows is a Russian word. He must. I mean, it seems like David Foster Wallace knows everything. This novel has been called encyclopedic, and rightly so. I mean, medical terms, far-flung geography, that, like, how does he know this history? This is before, like, the internet was, and Wikipedia was so widely available, so it's incredible the amount of research he must have put into this. I mean, every 2 sentences, it feels like almost every sentence there's like 3 or 4 words that you have to look up in the dictionary, and I just gave up at some point. I just realized I was probably going to take a year to read this novel if I wanted to understand it fully, but I chose to just kind of plow through it, and I think I got a good amount, 60 to 70% of this novel understood. A lot of it is about addiction, which I found very intriguing. There's a really cool passage here on page 900 that I'll read. So this is Hal Incandenza. He's given up marijuana that he's addicted to because he's going to get drug tested before this major tennis competition. He's just lying on the floor. And this is just kind of him thinking to himself. It now lately sometimes seemed like a kind of black miracle to me that people could actually care deeply about a subject or pursuit and could go on caring this way for years on end. Go on caring this way for years on end. Could dedicate their entire lives to it. It seemed admirable and at the same time pathetic. We are all dying to give our lives away to something, maybe. God or Satan, politics or grammar, topology or philately. The object seemed incidental to this will to give oneself away utterly, to games or needles, to some other person, something pathetic about it, a flight from in the form of plunging into. Flight from exactly what? These rooms blandly filled with excrement and meat? To what purpose? This was why they started us here so young, to give ourselves away before the age when the questions why and to what grow real beaks and claws. So I'll stop there. Yeah, crazy. He's kind of saying that we're all addicted to something, that we all have this sort of escapism, whether or not we're heroin addicts or addicted to video games. We might be addicted to a person or a habit, and we use this kind of to escape existential fear about why we're even here and what life means and what it's all about. I guess I could kind of relate to that, and I guess everybody, my guess is we all probably could. It seems like every character in this novel, and there's many of them, at least 100, 200 characters, are addicted to something. They're all severely flawed. Maybe the only character that might not be addicted to something is Mario Incandenza, which is Hal's middle brother, his older brother, who is severely deformed, I guess. He's like 3 feet tall, he has claws for hands, he can't really stand up on his own, and his head is massive. Yeah, there's so much weird, bizarre things that happen in this novel. He overuses the word like a lot. Again, that I think comes from the influence by Burgess. Overall, I did enjoy this novel. I didn't love it. I did really like it. I did not love it. Maybe I would like it again on a reread, and a lot more of it would make sense. Even if I were to just start again rereading it now, a lot of it would make more sense, I think, because some of the things that are mentioned earlier in the novel come back later and are kind of reclarified. And now that I've just finished the novel, if I start in the first third, a lot of these things would click. Yeah, but like I said, I can't say that this is an outstanding novel, but it was a fun read, and I'm glad I read it. I would not recommend it to most people unless you are up for a challenge and you really like challenging literature and just reading kind of experimental works. I think this is considered a, what's that word? Postmodern novel, for whatever that means. But yeah, I would not recommend this to most people. I think most people wouldn't want to read this. They wouldn't enjoy it. It is not a straightforward novel in the slightest. It is one of the strangest things I've ever read. But yeah, that's it. Infinite Jest, David Foster Wallace. Let me know what you think if you read this. This is just my opinion. I have not looked at anyone else's opinion. I haven't read any other critical reviews or anything like that about this novel. But now that I've recorded this video, that's the next thing I'm absolutely going to do, because I would love to hear what other people thought of this. I'm about to go watch videos and look it up on Wikipedia, and yeah, I'm really interested to see what people made of this book, because I'm sure a lot of people were able to get more out of it than I was, and I'm very confused about many parts of this, and hopefully some of that will be explained. So I like doing that after I read a novel. I'll read like a critical review of it, or an explanation, a summary, kind of just to clarify some of the things that I might have had questions about. Or like this, I'll watch a YouTube video about it, or somebody who else has read it. So I'm about to do that, but if anyone else has read this, I'd love to hear what you think. So that's it for today.